I still hear your voice at night. Make me feel alright. Jump right back into my life. Cause we could dance the night away. Make me love you through the haze. Ain't no need to be afraid.
Hey, have you heard about the day my mother became a stranger? Picture this, a normal Tuesday morning. You walk downstairs, your mother is making breakfast. She smiles and says, "Good morning." Her voice the same, her face the same. She remembers your birthday, your childhood, everything. But something feels wrong. Deep inside your brain, there's an alarm. That's not her.
Wow, that's chilling. It reads like a psychological thriller. But you're saying this really happens?
Yes, it's not a movie plot or conspiracy. It's a real neurological condition called Capgras Syndrome. People genuinely believe that close relatives, friends, or even themselves have been replaced by imposters. They recognize the face, the voice, the facts, but the feeling of familiarity is gone, so their brain invents an explanation. She's a double.
Where did the name come from?
It goes back to 1923. French psychiatrist Joseph Capgras described a woman convinced that her husband, friends, and neighbors had been replaced by identical doubles. He documented how she wasn't trying to trick anyone, she truly believed it. For decades, it was treated as a psychiatric delusion, but later research pointed to neurological roots.
Neurological roots, like brain damage.
Exactly. Capgras often shows up after brain injury, stroke, dementia, or with psychiatric disorders like schizophrenia. What scientists think is happening is a breakdown in communication between two systems, the perceptual face recognition pathway and the emotional/familiarity pathway. You can still see and label a face, but the automatic emotional response, the "this is mine, this matters" signal, doesn't come through.
So someone might look at their spouse and say, "Yes, that looks like my husband," but feel nothing. How do we know this?
There have been clever experiments. Researchers measure autonomic responses, like skin conductance, when people see faces. Normally, seeing a loved one sparks a bigger emotional/physiological reaction than seeing a stranger. Many people with Capgras showed diminished or absent autonomic responses to familiar faces, suggesting the emotional link is broken even though visual recognition is intact.
That really puts the feeling at the center of how we recognize reality. If your emotions say, "this belongs to me," then losing that signal could wreck your sense of who people are.
Right. And our brains don't like missing information. When the sight of a familiar face isn't accompanied by the expected feeling, the brain constructs a story to make sense of the mismatch. If she looks like my mother but doesn't feel like her, she must be an imposter. It's a rational attempt to explain an irrational internal cue.
That's heartbreaking. What does this mean for families? How do you care for someone with this condition?
It's deeply stressful. Arguing with someone in Capgras rarely helps. Logic and photographs often make no difference to the felt experience. Medical evaluation is important to find underlying causes, treatable conditions, medication side effects, infections, or neurodegeneration. In terms of day-to-day care, clinicians recommend gentle validation and safety planning. Instead of insisting, "that's your mother," caregivers might say, "I know this is confusing," and focus on calming, routine, and familiar cues, music, scents, shared activities. When psychiatric symptoms are strong, antipsychotics or other medications may be considered under a doctor's guidance.
So it's both a medical and emotional problem. Are there cases where people recover?
Yes, outcomes vary. If Capgras follows an acute brain injury or delirium and the underlying issue is treated, the syndrome can improve. With neurodegenerative disease, it may persist or change over time. For many families, the goal becomes managing distress and safety, preserving dignity, and seeking support from medical teams, therapists, and caregiver networks.
It also raises this big, a little scary idea. How much of what we call reality depends on our feelings? If the emotional signal can alter who someone is to us, then memory and recognition aren't pure facts at all.
Exactly. Capgras forces us to see that perception is a partnership between the senses and emotion. We don't just register faces, we tag them with meaning and belonging. When that tagging system breaks, so does part of our social world. It's a humbling reminder that mind and feeling shape how we know who people are.
If someone listening suspects a loved one might be experiencing this, what's the first step?
Start with a medical evaluation, primary care, neurology, or psychiatry. Document what's happening, any timing after injury or illness, and changes in behavior. Avoid confrontation, keep the person safe, and reach out for support. It's hard, and caregivers need help too.
Powerful topic. Thanks for walking through it with me. Anything you want to leave listeners with?
Just this. Empathy matters. When someone insists a loved one is a stranger, it feels impossible to us, but to them it's real. Meeting that experience with calm, medical attention, and compassion is the clearest way forward. And maybe, next time you look at someone you love, you'll notice how much your heart is doing the work of recognition.
Thanks for joining us on Brain Glitch. We'll be back with more stories that begin in the world and end inside the mind.
Hey, have you heard about, is Capgras Syndrome just a strange delusion?
Yeah, I have. Let's dive into it and see what we can learn. What makes it so strange?
Not exactly strange so much as fascinating. It's a reminder that recognizing someone isn't just about seeing them, it's about feeling them.
Feeling them. Do you mean like emotion tied to recognition?
Exactly. Every day your brain performs millions of calculations without you noticing. You recognize faces, voices, places, and every one of them comes with an emotional fingerprint. Safe, familiar, loved, home.
So Capgras happens when that emotional fingerprint goes missing.
Yes, if that emotional signal disappears, your brain has to explain why. And sometimes it creates the only explanation that seems to fit. This isn't really them.
That's heartbreaking. So people still see their partner or parent, but they feel like an imposter.
That's the tragedy of Capgras syndrome. Not that people forget the faces they love, but that they lose the feeling that those faces belong to the people they love.
What's happening in the brain to cause that split between sight and feeling?
Researchers think it's a disconnection between the facial recognition system, the part that tells you who someone looks like, and the limbic or emotional system that tags that face with familiarity. Classic studies measured skin conductance and found reduced autonomic response to familiar faces in people with Capgras. The face looks right, but the emotional buzz is gone.
So the visual part is intact, but the emotional tag fails. What can cause that disconnection?
A few things: brain injuries, dementia, Lewy body disease, some cases of schizophrenia, and even certain seizures can trigger it. The brain is powerful, but also surprisingly fragile. Sometimes a small glitch rewires how reality is built.
Reality built on emotion rather than cold facts. That's a big idea.
We like to believe reality is built on facts, but often reality is built on emotion. Your brain isn't a camera. It doesn't simply record the world. It interprets it, fills in gaps, and connects memories with feelings. And when one tiny connection breaks, your entire reality can change.
It makes you rethink what knowing someone really means. Not just recognition, but the sense that they belong to you.
Capgras syndrome reminds us that the mind is incredibly powerful, but also surprisingly fragile. Sometimes the biggest glitches aren't the ones we can see. They're the invisible connections that make the world feel real.
Thanks for that. That was moving and a little chilling. Any parting thoughts?
Thanks for listening to Brain Glitch, where every mystery begins with a story and ends inside your mind. See you in the next glitch.
After credits teaser. Next time, imagine waking up, looking in the mirror, and becoming convinced you don't exist anymore. Your heart is beating, you're breathing, but your brain insists you're already dead. Welcome to one of the rarest psychological disorders ever recorded, Cotard syndrome.
I still hear your voice at night, make me feel alright. Jump right back into my life. Cause we could dance the night away, make me love you through the haze. Ain't no need to be afraid,